Hello, everyone. I'll be giving a presentation today on train or traffic caused by trains, specifically when they're stopped or if they're taking too long. My name's Lana Day, and the title of this presentation is No More Pain, Fix the Trains. So, if you are someone who lives in Southwest Ohio, then it is highly likely that at some point in your life you have been late to some event, shift, or function due to a train taking forever to pass by the crossing or just stopped completely. Trains cause far more than just traffic delays. They are directly responsible for the air quality in any region they pass through, give off loads of noise pollution, and can prevent emergency vehicles from getting where they need to go. A little story of my past. This is probably where a lot of my frustrations with trains and traffic come from. But my grandparents, who live about an hour away, were picking us up to go take us to see a movie, and we had tickets. I believe it was for about 6:30, and we left. They came and picked us up at my house, and they got there, I believe, at about I want to say about 4:30. So on our way out, there is multiple, train tracks. The first one we got through no problem. The second set of train tracks, not so much. We actually ended up sitting there for close to, if I remember correctly, it was at least an hour and 15 minutes, probably closer to an hour and a half, and we actually ended up missing our movie, and we had to go another day. But um, a lot of my frustrations just built from there. Driving myself, just growing up, dealing with it, living around a bunch of train tracks, and tensions just kind of grew from there. Trains do have a rich history. They were, a backbone of the Industrial Revolution and are directly responsible for the development of this country. With the biggest one of these companies is called Union Pacific, and they used to provide like transportation of citizens and goods, and this is what helped with the development of the country. On the right there is a image of how they used to look, and on the left is a Union Pacific locomotive now. Companies that deal in the railroad industry now are solely kept in business by the shipping industry. You don't really get on trains to be taken somewhere. People drive, people fly, even take buses, or it is a division of trains, but in some cities, like subways and stuff. They are very desperate in their attempts to try and continue to be relevant in today's society. Companies like Union Pacific really try to show that they are still valuable and important, and they are to a degree. They provide shipping for loads of materials, and but to the average person who lives in an area like myself, a large amount of railroad crossings, they're kind of just a nuisance, and that comes with the traffic and with the noise and many other things. As for regulations, Ohio law itself states that a train cannot legally hold up traffic for more than 5 minutes. There are loopholes in this, and this is where they don't get fined as much. If the train is quote malfunctioning, then there's not really any real limit to this kind of thing. So they're able to stop and start and go forward, stop, go back again, and usually that means they're unloading something or something is wrong. Who knows? But long story short, even if it isn't malfunctioning, they are still only allowed to hold up traffic for 5 minutes. And even when a train itself hasn't stopped, I know for a fact that I myself have stopped at a train track for uh, I would say sometimes 10 to 15 minutes of just watching the train go by. Usually, it's either an exceptionally long train lengthwise, or it's just for some reason deciding to go slower than the average train. The obvious issue of that would be the wait time for people. You're sitting in your car, so you're burning your time and also your money. You're sitting there with your car on, so you're burning gas, and you are obviously missing time on where you are trying to go, whether it be just getting home after a long day or making it to your shift, or the bigger problem, which my mother pointed out to me when I was younger a lot, and it was her gripe with it, was that emergency vehicles, if they had to get through a railroad crossing, what happens, especially if the train's stopped? if the train's moving at a decent pace, it's, hopefully it's supposed to be over under that 5 minute time. But in the case of an Oklahoma man, it actually played a part in his death. This news article that I found, it talks about the Oklahoma family. They lost their father. He had a heart attack, and emergency services were actually held up at a train that was stopped just outside of their neighborhood. They couldn't get through. They tried to talk to the conductor of the train, apparently, so that gives some indication of how long that they were actually stopped. They were able to get out, talk to the conductor, and he, for some reason, just refused to move. And so the man who was having a heart attack actually ended up passing away. And Oklahoma's a little different. There's no limit to how long a train can block traffic like there is in Ohio. But the family did sue the railway industry there in Oklahoma. I'm not quite sure I think that case might still be ongoing. But yeah, I mean, if trains can, stop there for as long as they can, then things like this are going to happen. More recent news: there was a Atlanta Hawks game, and they were visited, or the Charlotte Hornets were in town in a winner go home game. It's called the play-in games, and they were actually forced to walk to the arena because their team bus was stuck at a train crossing for 45 minutes. So here I've got a little news clip, and if you get about 50 seconds in, you'll see there's a couple different of the players posted on their social medias before the game talking about how, oh my goodness, we have to walk, we have to. And funny enough, the Charlotte Hornets ended up losing by 25, 30 points that night in a winner go home game. And so, if NBA players can be affected by this, then, average people as well. And it's clearly a problem. There we go. Just take a look here. Here's some of the players walking to the arena talking about it, and it's just beyond sad that they actually ended up losing that night by such a wide margin. Like, they're NBA players; they can't possibly be completely fatigued from walking for. I'm not quite sure how long the walk itself was, but it had to have played a factor in the way the game went. Frustration, the mental state of the players, and obviously a little bit in fatigue because you did have to walk. More issues that can come with this are health can also be affected. If you live close to trains, they give off a bunch of pollution, especially soot. And there was an article or a report actually done about 30 years ago on toxicology of soot, and it found that it does play a role in the development of cancer and respiratory diseases. Not only traffic and even the noise, people are potentially being exposed to these kinds of things for decades if they live in the same place or even if they work on trains. But living close to trains means constant exposure to these kinds of chemicals and carcinogens. How can we address this? Well, there are a couple different ways to go about it. Some quicker than others. One would be finding a new form of transportation. There are a lot of different options today with, like drone technology and stuff like that, but that's not nearly far enough along to carry the things that trains do. There's semis, but that would require a lot of semis to haul the same amount that they can. So there's not really a new form of transportation we could look at. Increasing the fines is something that's being looked at, especially luckily here in Butler County. There, which would add up over time, but probably be the best option for the time being. Building underpasses or some form of getting around the trains would take years, and in some places, the ground may not be stable enough. Coordinating train traffic more efficiently and providing better inspections for the trains can lead to less blockages. There was an investigation done by Bowden Lawrence. He published his work displaying some of his investigative methods on how improving train traffic as a whole can lead to less blockages and also just overall better efficiency. And also there are electric locomotives that are coming out today. So what can you do? The biggest thing would be to talk to your state governments, get involved, be angry, call, write, petition, something. And the more this is addressed or talked about, the more likely it is that something will be put in place to combat this problem.